How's everybody doing today? I certainly hope you're doing well. It's time for another edition of Story Time. I like to let people know whether or not it's a true story or not. It is not a true story. It's a story in which Monty created. So let's go ahead and start. The name of the story is called FACERS. Face, right? So, let's go ahead and begin, shall we? There was a psychiatrist by the name of Dr. Szymanski. Dr. Szymanski was married to Margaret. This entire story occurs in the state of Colorado, oddly enough. Sure does. You see, Dr. Szymanski and Margaret had been married for years upon years, but as of late, for well over a year and a half, almost creeping on 2 years, they've been separated. Dr. Szymanski is one of the best psychiatrists in the nation. He sure is. And he charges about $600 an hour. And sometimes some of his clients will pay in excess of $5,000–$6,000 an hour because Dr. Szymanski has such a great reputation of curing all these different people of their psychological ailments in only a few sessions. And he has quite the reputation. He sure does. And he makes all of these different speaking engagements all over the country and sometimes in other countries to certain techniques, but because of a thing called doctor-client privilege, almost like attorney-client privilege. He can't really speak to exactly what he's doing because, of course, every patient is different. Now, Margaret, on the other hand, Margaret was a model for most of her life. And then she got into business. But you see, Margaret's father is very, very, very wealthy. Oh my gosh. You can't even imagine. He is creeping into the billionaire department. If he's not already a billionaire, he's going to be pretty quick. Her father also lives very close to both her and Dr. Szymanski, or her husband. But you see, here's the thing. They've been separated for so long now that Margaret is doing her own thing. She goes to Vail and Steamboat Springs and Aspen. And she goes to other countries as well for, business and pleasure. While Dr. Szymanski races around the nation and around Colorado, of course, seeing new clients and making more money. You see, Dr. Szymanski makes about $680,000 a year. He lives in a $5 million house in Cherry Hills. But here's a problem. He's spending about $800,000 a year, and he always seems to be in debt. Well, the reason why is when you are drinking Remy Martin XO at about $280 a bottle on a constant basis, you tend to blow through the money pretty quick. When you're eating at these very exquisite restaurants, when you're going to 5-star hotels on a constant basis, you go through the money pretty quick, right? And again, Margaret and Dr. Szymanski have been separated for some time. They sure have. But you see, Margaret's father, like I said, if he's not a billionaire, he's gonna be very quickly because her father provided seed money to all of these inventors around the nation. He provided seed money for the Post-it notes. He provided seed money for Velcro. He provided seed money for the facsimile machine back in the day. And under contractual agreement between the inventor and the person that provided the seed money, which would be him, he required that he was to take 15% of all profits for 10 years. Oh yeah. And he's done this over and over and over and over and over again. He probably has about 17 accounts that have 10-year stretches, and out of all 17 of these inventions have come to market, and they're extremely successful. He's reaping in the rewards. He certainly is. But you see, her father, seeing that Margaret's the only child, her father is the only one that's left. Her mother passed years back. So her father is the only one that's really alive in her entire family. And her being the only child, chances are her father's going to will her everything. Because they have a fantastic relationship. Her father doesn't like Dr. Szymanski. He never did. He wants her to divorce him. She's sent him divorce papers several times. He refuses to sign them. Right? And at the last moment when he gets to sign them and they try to figure out some sort of way of dividing all the assets and the monies and all that, she kind of folds and decides to maybe things will work out when they won't. They won't. No sir, no ma'am, they won't. So you see, Dr. Szymanski, he is supposed to have some sort of conference in downtown Denver on a Monday at 9 a.m., and he can't be late. No, you can't be late. No, when you are the featured speaker and you are to speak at a conference when the entire audience is filled with hundreds upon hundreds of different psychologists and psychiatrists and doctors and physicians and pharmaceuticals, you can't be late. No, you can't. And because Dr. Szymanski knew this, he decided that he was going to rent a room at the Brown Palace Hotel the night before on Sunday, because he wanted to make absolutely positive there's no way that he would be late. Because after all, the influx of population since the, let's say, legalization of marijuana has exploded in the Denver metropolitan area, and the traffic is almost out of this world. And he knows this, so he decided to rent a room at the Brown Palace Hotel in downtown Denver. Yeah. Now, where Dr. Szymanski is to speak is only a couple of minutes from that hotel. So that's what he does. He checks in about 4 p.m. on a Sunday. Because, again, he has to be at that conference at 9 a.m. sharp. He cannot be late. He's the featured speaker. Right? Once Dr. Szymanski checks into the hotel, he knows that he's got to go to bed pretty early, 10 o'clock maximum, right? So once he checks in, he goes to his room. He doesn't really have any luggage, right? All the towels and everything's provided. And again, it's a 5-star hotel. Yeah, you're going to spend some money when you start renting rooms to a 5-star hotel. So after he goes to his room, gets acclimated and such, he goes back downstairs and he decides he's going to get some supper. He eats his supper and he starts having a couple of drinks. But you see, Dr. Szymanski, again, here we go again. He's drinking Remy Martin XO. That's about $280 a bottle. It sure is. But seeing that he's not drinking out of the bottle, he's just ordering shots of this stuff. And he drinks it straight. Why sit there and corrupt something like that with Coca-Cola or Sprite or 7-Up or tonic? I mean, really? No. He's drinking it straight. So before you know it, he's having different conversations and he's introducing himself to all these different people down there at the bar. They're hoo-hooing, ha-ha, and having a good old time. Time gets away from him. It's about 8:30. Guess what? He needs to go to bed. He knows it. He's got this big conference and he's feeling a little bit under his liquid weather, if you get my meaning. But not to such a point where he can't concentrate on the basics, right? So here it is, about 8:30, 8:45, he decides, you know what? He needs to go upstairs and get ready for bed because he's got this conference. That was the whole idea of renting the room in the first place. So there's no way that he could be late. So he calls for the elevator, right? Pushes a button for the elevator. The elevator opens up. He gets inside. Nobody's inside the elevator. He goes up to his room on the 4th floor there. Elevator doors open up. He gets out of the elevator and he's looking down, and as he looks up, there's a man that is walking towards him that is very well dressed. He's got a bunch of diamonds on his rings, right? He's got a bunch of rings on his hands, diamond rings on his hands, big old diamonds, where you could see from afar, you know, like the squares and circles, you know, where they're kind of like obnoxious, right? He's wearing a very long trench coat. You can tell the suit that he's wearing probably is excesses of $1,000, easily. He's walking with such confidence. He's got a thick head of hair. The man is probably in his late 40s, early 50s. Tall, big fella. And he's walking towards Dr. Szymanski, and Dr. Szymanski is walking towards his room. They meet sort of halfway in the hallway. And that gentleman looks at Dr. Szymanski and doesn't introduce himself by name. He looks at him right in his face. And he has this thick Russian accent. Russian English accent. He says, "Ah, doctor, you come very recommended. You've done good work." And he's patting him on his shoulder, right? He's giving him compliment after compliment after compliment after compliment. Oh, Dr. Szymanski, being the way he is, he's taking all those compliments. He's, you know, feeling pretty good about himself. Because even though he's under his liquid weather just a little bit, he can still concentrate, right? He can still hear, he can still understand and comprehend, right? And this guy is just showering him with all of these compliments. He doesn't even know who this guy is. And the man does not introduce himself either. And right before he walks away, he reaches up and he grabs Dr. Szymanski's face, and he holds his face a little firm, and he looks right into his eye with such confidence and says, "The transformation has begun, FACERS." And he lets go. He walks away. Dr. Szymanski's like, what just happened? He turns around, the guy calls for the elevator, hits the door, opens up, he walks in the elevator, and pew, disappears. That was weird. That was weird. But you see, with all those compliments coming in, who was using the psychology on who? Right? Because Dr. Szymanski is famous for his analytical ways, if you will. He can take one word and analyze it in such a way and come out with some sort of configuration of a way to make this work opposed to that, because that's his whole business. He's a psychiatrist. He's dealing with everybody's psyche, right? Maybe that is his techniques of curing all these people with such great success. But now he just had an encounter with an absolute stranger that was extremely complimentary, or extremely kind, very direct, was complimenting him. How is he going to flinch, or how is he going to, you know, flip out if some dude grabs your face? Well, first, Dr. Szymanski had been drinking. That's first of all. So you kind of, your guards are down a bit, right? Plus, he was getting showered with all those compliments. Right? So as the man disappeared, Dr. Szymanski's kind of looking around thinking, man, that was weird. That was just weird. But it doesn't matter how weird it is, because he's got to get his happy ass to bed, because he's got to wake up and be on time to that conference at 9 a.m. So it doesn't even matter. So he gets in his room, and he lays down to go to sleep for the evening. And he does. He probably fades out around 10-ish. About 8:45, his phone starts ringing. He's still asleep. Uh-oh, you know what that means. You're going to be late, dude. Chances are, even though the place that is having the conference and the hotel are only minutes away, but you still got to get up, you got to take your shower, you got to do all that stuff, right? Well, who's calling him? Well, John's calling him. John is Dr. Szymanski's right-hand man. He's almost like his agent. He sets up all these conferences. He makes sure he gets paid for these conferences. He sets up all these speaking engagements and holidays and, vacation. He's his right-hand man. Phone is just ringing off there. Yeah, what's that? John's like, dude, where are you at, bud? It's like 1:15. Where are you at? Are you on your way? How are you going to be here? Don't be late, dude. Do not be late. You can't be late. You are the featured speaker. Don't be late. He's like, oh my gosh. He goes, man, I don't even have time for a shower. I don't even have... He goes, I'm on my way. So Dr. Szymanski hops up out of bed, and man, he's in a hurry. He sure is, because he is going to be late if he doesn't get out. He doesn't even have time to go and brush his teeth, take a shower, none of that. He just puts on his shirt, and he's got his tie on, he's racing down. Here's his phone ringing again. Vroom, vroom, vroom. You got John calling again. He's sitting there sending him text message. I'm on my way. So here he is. He gets in the elevator. He goes down into the lobby. His phone, whoop, 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 right? He's doing text messages back and forth, reassuring him he's going to be on time, right? He's got his nose in this phone the whole way down, totally oblivious to everybody around him. He goes out to the front door area there where he got the bellman. They got on their suits and their cap and their white gloves and the whole night. It's a high-class place, you know what I'm saying? Taxi! Get him a taxi and such. It appears that he's going to be on time. So the guy opens the door for him, he gets inside the car and poof, takes off. Gives him the address where he needs to go. So he can finally relax because it looks like he's going to be on time. It's not a big deal. I'm going to be on time. I'm almost there. He's got a couple more minutes to spare. Didn't take a shower, didn't brush his teeth, none of that. Hair's kind of a mess, but he looks okay. So he goes to pay the taximan, right? Person that gave him a ride. And he looks up to the rear view mirror, and who does he see? Oddly enough, it's the guy that gave him all of these compliments the night before at the hotel, right? He's like, what the? He's looking at, so he taps him on the shoulder and he goes, how much are you? And the guy turns around. It is that guy. Exactly his face. Exactly his voice. He's like, bud, you were at the hotel as we met in the hallway and you gave me all those compliments and you were wearing this, like, trench. And the guy is like, it's not me. What are you talking about? I'm a taxi driver. I was midlife. I wasn't even at, you know what I mean? But even though it's really not that guy, Dr. Szymanski is seeing that that person is the same person that touched his face the night before at the hotel. He's like, same voice. He's kind of confused. He doesn't have time to talk about it because he's got to go to a conference. He pays the guy, gets out of the car. The first person he sees when he opens the door is John. But John, too, has the exact same face. And the exact same voice is the person that met him in the hallway at the hotel the night before. He knows it's John because John is like 5'6". Weighs about 140 pounds. Whereas the man in the hallway was tall. Even though it is John, because John, dude, what are you talking about? Of course it's me. You and Margaret are married, you live in Cherry Hills. You are a psychiatrist. He's going through all that. He goes, yeah. He's starting to lose. He's like, man, what is going on? First a taxi, now it's John. But it's not really John. But it is John, but it looks like he's getting kind of creeped out. It is kind of creepy, isn't it? So he's trying to get situated, make sure his shirts, everything's nice and that. And he walks out on stage. There's hundreds of people out there. Psychologists, psychiatrists, doctors, right? People in the pharmaceuticals. people in the insurance industry. These are all bigwigs. He's right on time. He stands there on the podium and he gets his notes out and he looks up, and every single person in the audience has the exact same face as the person that confronted him in the hallway at the hotel. He looks over at the person that is videotaping this event, which they always do. He too has the face of the man that confronted him at the hotel, the 5-star hotel, the night before. His heart starts racing. He comes to his opening statement and he passes out. All these doctors from the audience race up. They're trying to give him some sort of attention and trying to figure out what's wrong with him. They're taking his pulse and see if it's heat, and they're hitting him with some salts, all that stuff. Call an ambulance. Ambulance comes, they take him away. Right? When he comes to, what does he see? All of the nurses, all of the doctors, all the reception people, all of the cleaning people, all of them have the face and the voice of the man that confronted him in the hallway at the 5-star hotel of the night before. Oh, this is crazy, man. This is crazy. Here it is, 1 o'clock in the afternoon on a Monday. Well, guess what? He's got to be at his office at 3 p.m. and he can't be late there either because he is to see a client by the name of Charles. Charles is 26 years of age. Charles is also the son of a very powerful and influential banker. He can't be late on that one either. So guess what he's got to do? He puts a call into John. Here we go again. John, get me out of here. I got to get out of here. I'm going to check myself out of this hospital. Okay, I'm totally fine. Everything's cool. I got to go see that client. I have to. I cannot be late on that. Get me out of it. Come and get me. So John comes and gets him. He checks himself out of the hospital. John comes and gets him, takes him to his office. Even though John's face is the exact same face of the man that had confronted him in that hallway at the 5-star hotel the night before, along with his voice. It doesn't matter. He knows it's John, right? He also knows that every single person that he sees on the street, every person that he comes in contact with, whether they're business constituents, whether they're just everyday average Joes, have the exact same face and voice of the person that confronted him in the hallway at the 5-star hotel. It's very unnerving. It's creepy. He doesn't know why. It doesn't even matter. So he gets to his office, and of course Dr. Szymanski has a receptionist that works for him. He walks in the door. He looks at her. Her name is Gina. He looks at Gina. Gina's beautiful too. Got a long red hair in that. But even though she's got long red hair, she's got the face and the voice. Here we go again. You know how it is, right? He walks into his office. He's got about 15 minutes left before that big hotshot client and their son is supposed to come in and have some sort of session with the best psychiatrist in the nation, right? He's got to be on his best behavior. Let me tell you, he can't be all flipping out himself, right? So Dr. Szymanski is sitting there, and he's kind of twiddling his tongue. He's thinking, what in the hell? Why am I seeing... All I see is the same face, the same person. Let's see, what happened? And he was like, okay, I got out of the elevator. When I looked forward, I saw this man. He was wearing a trench coat. He was wearing a really nice suit. He had all these diamond rings on his hands. And he started giving me compliments. And then, what was the last thing? What did he do? Oh, he grabbed my face. That's right. He grabbed my face and said, let's see, what did he say? So he's trying to remember. The transformation has begun of the FACERS. That's what he said. He's thinking, phasers? Was it phasers or was it FACERS? Was it face as in face? Or was it phasers, like phasers? It probably was FACERS. Because I keep seeing everybody, he's going through all this stuff, right? He's thinking, wait a minute. Maybe, just maybe, I'm going to see my client here is going to be Charles, who's going to be the son of a very high-profile banker. Oh yeah, maybe I could transfer the FACERS onto my client. Yeah, let's give that a whirl. Real nice guy, huh? He's going to transfer the FACERS onto his own client. Boy, what a rotten person, right? That is rotten. Sure is. So here comes Charles in, and his folks are there. Dr. Szymanski comes out and he greets them. Of course, they too have the faces, along with Charles. Has the face of the man that confronted him in the hallway at the 5-star hotel. They too, with a voice, the same 9 yards. But he's got it figured out. He's pretty sure that he can transfer the FACERS onto Charles. He's going to give it a whirl. He's going to see if that works, right? Charles comes in, he says, he turns over to his receptionist, he says, listen, if they want anything, make sure that they're attended to, whatever they want, right? Charles comes in to his office there. Dr. Szymanski, have a seat. Okay, what can I help you with? Charles is talking about all his, little particular things about how he was raised, who his father is, where he went to school, what his aspirations are in life, so on and so forth. So Dr. Szymanski looks at him, he says, you know something? He's trying to figure out a way that he can do the transfer. He's got to figure out a way that even though he just met this client the very first time, that this client's got to trust him to where he can touch his face. That's hard to do. Because Charles hasn't been drinking. Charles is 26 years of age, and his parents are sitting out in the reception area. Right? You better not goof this up, buddy. You're going to be in big trouble. So he starts talking to Charles. He's like, Charles, have you ever known people that sometimes when you're talking to them, their ears get red, or their face gets red, or the side of the neck gets red? Have you ever noticed anybody like that? Maybe they have high blood pressure, maybe they're blushing, maybe... Well, you see, that's a temperature change. It's very possible that what you're going through, the reason why you have such an influx of emotional stress that comes and goes so quickly, it's very possible that you might be having some sort of, or experiencing some sort of temperature change in your body or your face. He goes, yeah, that it could be. Dr. Szymanski goes on and elaborates. He goes, have you ever heard that sometimes people can actually visually see the aura of other people, especially during ovulation? He goes, yeah, I have heard of that. He goes, have you ever heard of the healing of the hands? Some people can place their hands on certain parts of the body. Maybe you have some sort of ailment or a cancer or something of the nature, and just by them touching you can alleviate and or cure such ailments. Have you ever heard of that? Charles is like, yeah, I have heard of that. He's excited. Because now there is this psychiatrist that is highly recommended, that his father recommended to, of course, Charles. And this guy is right in tune. I mean, they're clicking. You know what I mean? It's a good time. So Dr. Szymanski turns to Charles. He goes, do you mind if I feel the temperature of your face? Charles, without hesitation, says, yeah, go ahead. After all, he's a doctor, right? Yeah. When you're a psychiatrist, you have to be a doctor too, so to speak, because you have to prescribe medication. That's the difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist. A psychiatrist can give you medication through prescriptions, so they essentially have to be doctors too. Maybe a different kind of doctor, but still. Right? So Charles is like, sure. So Dr. Szymanski grabs Charles by the face and says, the transformation has begun of the FACERS. He lets go. And Charles is like, well, what was that all about? FACERS? What are you talking about, FACERS? He goes, one moment, Charles. Hang on just a second. One moment. Dr. Szymanski gets up. He opens up the door. He looks over at the receptionist. And guess what? It's the receptionist. He looks over at the mother and father of Charles that brought him there in the first place. And guess what? It's the mother and father of Charles. He has transferred the FACERS on to Charles. He sure has. And he knows he has. And he has. Isn't that neat? So then he goes, excuse me, I'm going to go to the bathroom. He alerts Charles and the folks in his reception. He's going to go to the bathroom. He'll be right back. He places a call into John, his right-hand man. He says, John, I need you to call me in exactly 5 minutes. Don't fail. Not a text, but a call. Oh, yes, sir. He goes back. He sits down in with Charles, and he says, Charles, you know, I think this has been a great session. I think in order to maybe alleviate this up and down attitude that you have of your problem, I think maybe 1 or 2 more sessions and you'll be all done. You'll be able to function in life properly. You'll be able to get a job. You'll be able to have a girlfriend. You'll be able to drive. You'll have a natural life, natural normal life. What do you think? He goes, man, this has been great. Thank you. Nice to meet you in the whole 9 yards. And he's like, we got about 15 minutes left. Okay, okay, now where were we? All of a sudden, phone rings. Who is it? Well, it's John. And you got old Dr. Smonsky. He's like, what? Oh my God, you're kidding? Because you can only hear Dr. Smonsky's side. So Charles is hearing that. And of course, Charles's folks is hearing that in the reception because he's kind of loud, right? So he hangs up. He turns to Charles. He goes, listen, I'm so sorry. I know we still have about 10-15 minutes left in our session. I have got to make my way home. There's been an emergency. The police are there. I don't even know what's going on. Something's crazy. So as Charles gets up to walk out, he opens the door and he goes to greet the folks. And he says to the folks, hey, listen, you know, I'm really sorry, but I'm going to have to leave. The receptionist will help you with anything that you need. And, you know, it's nice meeting you. And I'll see Charles, but there's an emergency. There's police at my residence. I have to go. Pew, takes off. Right? Charles comes out of the office to greet his folks. And guess what? Both his mother and his father had the face of Dr. Szymanski. Both his mother and his father had the voice of Dr. Szymanski. But Charles doesn't say anything because he's creeped out. He doesn't say anything because he doesn't know if he's just seeing things. He doesn't know what to think. He looks over at the receptionist and she too has the face and the voice of Dr. Szymanski. Because the transformation was successful. And Dr. Szymanski knows it was successful. That's why he went out in the first place to look at the receptionist. His own receptionist, to see if he saw the face of the person that confronted him in the hallway of the 5-star hotel, which he didn't. He knew the transfer was correct. Right? So he's gone. But where is he gone to? He went to go see John. He looks at John, and John is John. John does not have the face of the person that confronted him in the hallway of the 5-star hotel. He sure doesn't. He doesn't have the voice either. He's trying to explain to John what he saw, what happened the night before. Because after all, John knows everything about him. He's the right-hand man. He knows every last detail, right? He sure does. Oh man, this is fascinating, isn't it? Yep. So here it is, creeping on about 5 o'clock in the late afternoon, early evening, however you want to state it. And about 6 p.m., he gets a call from the father of Charles. Right? Oh, he is upset. He is raising all kinds of hell. What the heck is going on? I bring my son in there, and when he leaves, all he sees is your face and your voice with everybody he comes in contact with. He's raising all kinds of hell, man. I mean, he's screaming at the top of his lungs, just... Well, of course, Dr. Szymanski's going to ignore that. He doesn't want that back, let me tell you. The only reason why he was able to handle it is because he is one of the best or maybe even the best psychiatrist in the entire nation, maybe even the world, who knows, right? He does want to get it back, forget that. And chances are, Charles is not going to know how to transfer it on to somebody else. He ain't going to get it. Because he thought he said phasers when he said FACERS. Kind of like what happened to him in the hallway at the 5-star hotel. Same sort of thing. All right? So, here comes the weekend. And again, here we go all over again. Dr. Szymanski, he knows how to spend money. He can spend money like you just wouldn't even believe. So, here it is Sunday afternoon. He's out golfing with a bunch of buddies. Because I tell you what, he's been alleviated of all that craziness that he was seeing and hearing and all that nonsense, right? But Charles hasn't. Because Charles has had to endure every single person that he meets, every person that he comes in contact with, whether he knows him or not, is seeing the face of Dr. Szymanski and his voice. It's driving him out of his mind. He's going crazy. For real. So here you get, early in the, or late afternoon, early evening, his phone starts ringing. Dr. Szymanski. Who's on the other end? That banker again. Oh, he's mad, boy. He's really pissed off. He's ticked off. He is furious. Here his son Charles is going out of his mind. I mean, he is teetering on, like, losing his mind for real. Because of Dr. Szymanski. Right? Now, Dr. Szymanski doesn't answer the phone. He lets it go to voicemail. He calls again and again and again and again and again. Before you know it, he about had it. Dr. Szymanski answers, hello. And Charles's father's like, dude, I'm going to tell you something right now. I don't know if you know who I am, but I'm going to tell you who I am. He tells him who he is. I mean, this guy is a big hotshot banker who is very influential, right? He really is. And he says, I'm going to tell you something. You're going to figure out a way to cure this issue or alleviate this problem or something or fix it. Because if you don't, and Dr. Szymanski says, hold it. Hang on. I tell you what. I can make a house call and I'll cure him of his ailment. Guaranteed. And he goes, what? You think I'm going to let you into my house, what you did to my... He hangs up the phone. Well, he offered, right? So I guess that means a no. 15 minutes later, he gets a call from his wife, Margaret. Margaret is in the Sicilian Islands. She sure is. Well, you see, Margaret, like I said before, she'd go to Aspen, Steamboat Springs, and Vail. She'd go to other countries all the time. She'd get the money. Her father's got the money. Who cares? Right? But at this particular time, Margaret is in the Sicilian Islands. And she's placing a call into her husband, Dr. Szymanski. He answers the phone. He's like, hello. He knows it's her. She's like, oh, honey, this is horrible. My father passed away this afternoon. It's just terrible. He's thinking, oh my. Oh my. That's right. Margaret's father passed away just a few hours ago. Dr. Szymanski was oblivious to it because Dr. Szymanski and Margaret haven't been together for damn near 2 years, right? But she's aware of it because that was her father. And seeing that her father is a billionaire, and saying that Dr. Szymanski and Margaret have been together and married for umpteen years, but they've been separated for a couple of years, Dr. Szymanski has a plan. He sure does. He's got to figure out a way to assume what is called power of attorney over Margaret. There's only 2 ways to do it. Through some sort of medical issue or psychological issue. If he can get the FACERS back from Charles, he'll be a hero with Charles's folks. Right? But he'll also have the FACERS When Margaret comes back, flies back from the Sicilian Islands, he'll transfer the FACERS onto her. She'll go absolutely cuckoo in a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months. He can deem her psychologically unfit, have his colleagues deem her psychologically unfit to take care of her affairs. Consequently, Dr. Szymanski can assume power of attorney over all that money. Yeah, that's what he's going to do. Oh, just horrible, isn't it? Susie hangs up the phone with Margaret. Oh, he's like, oh, honey, oh, that's just horrible. And, oh, this reminds me of, remember when we first met? And she's like putty in hand, right? They hang up the phone. He puts a call back into Charles's folks, the big banker. Guy answers the phone. He goes, why in the heck are you calling me again? You know, when a guy hangs up the phone on you, that means he doesn't want to talk. He goes, wait. He goes, listen. I know I can cure Charles for sure. If you allow me to come to your house for 1 hour, I will put my reputation, I will put my practice, and I will put my home on the line. You can have it all. I know I can cure him. I figured out a way to cure him. So if you hang up the phone, sir, it is you that refused to help your own son. What do you want to do? Well, that's pretty powerful, isn't it? Of course, the banker said, get your ass over here. All right, fine. You're putting because the banker's saying, well, he's putting his business, putting his house, he's putting everything on the line for 1 hour. What does he have to lose? It's Dr. Szymanski's got everything to lose if he's wrong, right? That's a pretty confident dude right there. But he does know a way to fix it. So Dr. Szymanski goes over to Charles's house, knocks on the door. Of course, his folks are pissed off, man. They're still angry, right? Well, come here, the attitude. You know how it is, right? So he walks into the room and he goes up Charles into his own room. He said, excuse me, he closes the door. But they're standing right out front, right? Just to make sure. He goes, Charles, your father was telling me that you keep seeing my face and my voice and all that stuff. And I know an exact way to cure that. I know for a fact of how to get rid of all of that. I promise. I give you my word. And Charles is like apprehensive. He's like, I just don't understand now. I mean, everybody I come in contact, I'm seeing your he's like stuttering it. I'm seeing your face, and then everybody that's talking, I'm hearing your voice. You can see the guy's losing it, right? Dr. Szymanski says to Charles, do you remember when I grabbed your face and we were doing like some sort of heat thing? I mean, your ears are starting to look a little red. And your neck is kind of rashy looking red. Are you okay? I mean, I think they're... Let me feel your face again, because I really believe you have a temperature. And Charles is like, really? He's believing this shit, right? He's manipulating him again, but he is gonna cure him. He says, yeah, let me see. He reaches up and they got eye-to-eye contact, kind of like P2P, B2B. P2P is peer-to-peer. You got a computer. It makes a comment over here, right? You got the other computer that makes a comment back. You got the dude in the middle, right? That's peer-to-peer. You have a direct connection from one computer to the other. B2B is business to business, either through intranet or internet, through IP addresses. Same sort of stuff. You got the concentration, right? Yeah, you sure do. Eye to eye, right? Dr. Szymanski's got his face. They're looking at each other's eyes, and he goes, okay, it feels like there's no temperature. But he's got to get he's got to get Charles to transfer the FACERS back to him, right? So he said, Charles, here, see if you can feel the temperature of my face, for example. Charles is a little bit apprehensive. He goes, come on, come on. Okay. Charles has Dr. Szymanski's face like this in his hands. He goes, all you got to say, and he looks away. He goes, all you got to say, Charles, is this. The transformation has begun of the FACERS. That's it. He's looking away, see? Now he's looking at him eye to eye. Charles has his hands and he's kind of shaking a little bit. He goes, the transformation has begun of the FACERS. And he lets go. He said, hang on just a moment. Dr. Szymanski gets up, opens the door to greet his folks that are standing right there waiting, right? As soon as he looks at his father has the face of Charles and his voice. And so does his mom. It has worked. It sure has. Charles stands up and he walks out and he sees his father. It's his father's face. He sees his mother. It's his mother's face. It worked. He knew it was going to work. He sure did. Charles is ecstatic. He's so happy. He's hugging his dad and he's hugging his mom. Mom, it's you. He can see that his mom is her. He can see that his father is him. But Dr. Szymanski is seeing his father, his mother, and Charles as Charles's face and his voice. But that's what he wanted in the first place. So now, once again, Dr. Szymanski comes out on top. He sure does. He does. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Because he's cured Charles. And Charles's folks, the big-time banker that is extremely influential in the financial world, oh, man, I tell you what, he's got nothing but good things to say about Dr. Szymanski's now, even though hours before he was really upset with him, right? Because he cured his son. So off goes Dr. Szymanski. Because in a couple of days, guess who's going to be back? His wife. Margaret's going to be back. She sure is. And he's going to do a transformation of the FACERS onto her to make her go absolutely crazy. But he's got to kind of wait until the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, because when you have a death in the family, you have this thing called probate. If it goes in that direction, but usually it doesn't if you get that much money. Sometimes it doesn't, right? Depends on who and who's doing who to what and all that stuff. But once all the attorney and all that garbage is all figured out, once a transfer of those funds and assets have been made from her father to Margaret, seeing that she was the only child, once that happens, he's going to do the transformation of the FACERS back on her. Within a couple of weeks or months, she'll go absolutely out of her mind, and he will assume power of attorney of her entire estate. That's exactly what's going to happen. Sure is. She comes back from the Sicilian Islands. He picks her up at the airport. They're talking about all kinds of, they're reminiscing, and once again, it's like putty in the hand. Weeks go by. But you see, Dr. Szymanski, he knows the score. He understands what's going on. He knows that everybody that he sees has the face of Charles and the voice of Charles, even when he's talking with his own wife. She has the face of Charles and the voice of Charles, even though he knows it's his wife. But he's very well aware it's happening because it's for a really good cause in the long run. That's what he's thinking, right? About a month and a half goes by. It sure does. Yeah. And it's about that time. Because the transformation or the transfer of all those funds and assets, excluding his own house, in other words, her father's house, it was in Cherry Hills, has all been made. That means that if Margaret and Dr. Szymanski were to get a divorce, or in this state, let me tell you what, they split it 50-50 just like California. So it'd be a good time. Hell, he'd run off with what? I don't know. Maybe $550 million? Yeah, he could probably live a good life on that, right? So here comes the big day. Oh, it's going to be a big day too. He looks at Margaret, even though she has the face and the voice of Charles. He says, you know, Margaret, I've been thinking. I really miss on how we used to go out and have our suppers and such at all these different restaurants, and how we used to cuddle up on the couch, and I kind of miss on how we used to go to the movie house and watch all those shows and the opera. And he goes, I really miss all that. I miss you, and you know, I've always loved it. He's just going on and on and on, you know, and it's like really thick, right? He goes, I'll tell you what, how about if I take you out to the fort? I'm not going to call a driver. I'm going to drive you there myself. Okay? We're going to have a fantastic dinner. Maybe we'll go out dancing. Maybe we won't. Then we'll come back home and we'll have a very romantic evening together. What do you say? She's like, yeah, that sounds great. Well, see, for you people that don't know, the Fort is a very exquisite restaurant. It sure is. Kind of perched up on a hill a little bit there. It's like $65 to sit down. It's maybe $85 for a glass of water and $35 for a napkin. One of those places. So, he takes her out to this restaurant. They have a big old steak dinner and such. And he gets her the chair, you know, pulls out a chair for her. Hell, a real gentleman. Let me tell you. She drinks about 2 glasses of wine. I tell you what, she's not really, even though she's a little bit older, she and wine and alcohol, they're not best of friends, and she gets under her liquid weather kind of quickly. You got my meaning? But that's the whole idea here, because he's about ready to do a transformation and all of the FACERS. So they have this romantic dinner together, yeah. And guess what he's going to do? Well, he's going to race off, and he's going to go get the car, pull it right up front there, and walk her out, open the door for her, a whole 9 yards. Wow. I tell you what, the old Doc there, he's turned a whole new leaf, hasn't he? No, he hadn't. Oh my God, all the surprises, isn't it? He takes her home, and they live in a real nice house over there in Cherry Hills. I tell you, it's something else, isn't it? Only a couple of blocks from her own father. Yeah. Anyway, got the guard, the gate, the whole 9 yards, right? As soon as they drive up, he opens up the door for them at their own house. I mean, that's something else, isn't it? Gets the door from her at the front door. I mean, boy, he's really going all out now, right? She's feeling a little bit under the liquid weather. So he figured he's gonna ask her. He goes, hey, honey, you want something to drink? She goes, I already have something to drink. She got herself a glass of wine there, her damn self, right? She's like swirling it out, drinking away. He goes, well, I'm gonna go get me one. And what's he drinking? He's drinking that Remy Martin XO. That's like $280 a bottle. I mean, for real, go look it up. I'm not kidding. He's drinking that, and they're reminiscing about this. They turn on the gas fireplace. That's not even a fireplace if it's gas, is it? No, it's not. No, it's not. Fireplaces, I don't want to get into. I'll get into it another day. But anyway, he turns on the gas, you know, that fake gas fireplace nonsense, whatever. They're all cuddled up, and she's drinking her wine. He's drinking his Remy Martin. He's starting to get under his liquid weather already, too. Right? And, she gets up and she goes, you want another drink? She pours herself another glass of wine, and she's starting to do one of the wobbles. She's starting to do the pinball machines. You know how, fellas, when you get a little bit under your liquid weather, you start hitting the walls and stuff, a little pinball machine? She's getting kind of like that, and so is he. But he's got to do a transfer. That's mean when you transfer the FACERS, you got to have concentration. You can't be all loopy. He doesn't know that, though. He's going to find out. He sure is. So she brings him over from they're laying up, snuggling up on the bed there, and she sits him down in a chair. Right? This chair doesn't have any arms on it. It's just like a regular dinner chair without the arms. She gets up there and she's straddling him. You got me? She's facing kind of the other way. And he He was drinking his drink, she was drinking her drink, but see, she's not drinking wine. No, she's not. She got water in there. She sure does. She had 2 glasses of wine over there at the fort. When she got home, she's pouring herself water. But he's drinking Remy Martin XO. You got that? Who's playing who? That's the darndest thing. Yep, he's getting all like this. He can barely concentrate. He's like, you can see his vision is starting to go, right? One of these. She sets down her water, but he thinks it's wine. He sets down his drink, and his eyes are just a bloodshot, and he can hardly just whatever. He reaches up to put his hands on her face, and she reaches back on his face with her hands. And in unison they say, together, the transformation has begun of the FACERS. They said at the same time. He's in shock. He can't believe it, right? She immediately lets go of his face and walks out the door. She sure does. That's the darndest thing. Well, he crawls over there to the bed and he passes out and goes to sleep. He sure does. When he wakes up, she's not there. She sure isn't. Nobody's there. There's no staff there. There's nobody there. He walks outside of the house and he's looking around to see if he can see one face. He can't see one face. He drives over to like a little 7-Eleven or something, a convenience store. He looks at the convenience store, the cashier, and whose face is it? Oh, it's Margaret's face and her voice. Sure is. Uh-oh. This is not good. He goes into a grocery store and every single person he's seeing is her face and her voice. Oh boy, this is really not good. Oh my goodness. He races back home, and as soon as he opens the door, who in the hell is sitting right there in front, right in the foyer or the entryway? The guy that first confronted him at the 5-star hotel. Guess where he's from? He's from the Sicilian Islands. He's Russian. Sure is. And even though Dr. Szymanski saw his face as Margaret's face and her voice, well, he knows that Margaret is not like 6'3" and doesn't weigh 240 pounds. It's that guy. And that guy reminds him of the confrontation that they first had in the hallway at the 5-star hotel. And he also lets him know that, well, he owned a big old company that did surveillance, and they tapped all of his phones, and they tapped his entire life, and found out that he was going to play a big old game with Margaret, his own wife. And that guy reaches up and grabs his face with such firmness, and Dr. Szymanski's kind of squirming. He's trying to take his hands. He goes, not only has the transformation of the FACERS begun, but voicers as well. And he lets go and walks out the door. But what does this mean? Yeah, Dr. Szymanski races over to the door and he starts to scream at him. He can't speak. No, he can't. No matter how hard he tries, he can't speak. Which means he will never, ever be able to transfer the FACERS to anyone ever again because he can't speak. I'm Montagraph, and if you can't speak freely, you're simply not free.